control. He's got Desecration Demons, he's got Boros Reckoners, he's got Obsidian Ghost Council. On the right, you see a man in a CM Punk t-shirt, someone I grew up playing Magic with at the local store, Daniel Novak, and he's playing something that you're excited about, Mono Green?
Woo, that's exciting. He's got Boon Satyr in his deck and Elvish Mystics. Yeah, like this is a deck that I hope works. Boon Satyr, if you don't know it, green, 1, and it's a 4/2 flash creature that can be bestowed for a mere 5 mana. And he follows up here with a Colonian Tusker, a 3/3 that makes you kind of think, wow, this is what we've come to.
Yeah, I mean, just 3/3 with a story to tell, but a 3/3 on turn 2. I mean, we've seen Watch Wolf type cards before be quite good. This one is about as difficult to cast as Watch Wolf, but it's in play now as Rasmussen just has another Temple and passes the turn back. So Novak looks to be the aggressor in this matchup.
Yeah, and we see right here 4 Godless Shine, 4 Blood Crypt, 4 Sacred Foundry, and 6 comes into play tapped. That's about right.
Yeah, I mean, 4 Temple of Silence and 2 Rakdos Guildgate. Again, Rasmussen is black, red, white control as there's a Nylea, the green god, 1 away from the necessary devotion to be able to start going absolutely crazy with other creatures you control. Have Trample, of course, and then +2/+2, so it gives him something to do with his mana as there's a Blood Crypt going to come play untap. But one thing I was going to mention here, Adrian, is that Anger of the Gods is kind of super for this deck, and Rasmussen is pretty far away from that.
Yeah, and look at this. He is saying you're going to have a god.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. That I have not seen this happen in Constructed yet. I have not seen a god made flesh. And now, here it is, Nylea coming on in. Guess what? Nylea gives other creatures trample, so, you know, it doesn't trample.
If that one doesn't trample, Reckoner looks like it's going to get in front of the Tusker to trade with it. I mean, one thing Rasmussen could do is he could block the 6/6, and then the ability on the Reckoner can take care of the Tusker. But he's going to block the Tusker and then shoot down the Elvish Mystic. So now Nylea is off because there's only 3 for devotion.
I wouldn't have minded blocking the Nylea and then killing the Colonian Hydra. Or, yeah, the Colonian Hydra.
Well, the Hydra is a 4/4, so he's not going to be able to shoot that down.
Wouldn't it have taken... Because the Nylea doesn't have trample.
Oh, no, you're right. Yeah, so it would deal 6 to that. Oh, yeah, you're right. My apologies. So, yeah. 6 to that and then deal the damage over to the to the Hydra.
Yeah,
that's actually true. I mean, Chain of the Rock's going to take care of the Hydra, so now all that Novak does have
is
just the god.
So quickly, the god is no longer flesh. Yeah. A flurry of removal and trading, and we see the problem, I think, of the gods made flesh. It just doesn't stick around.
Scavenging is a pretty good follow-up once everything does die, because now you can start growing that, can Novak. You take a look at the removal in Rasmussen's deck. 3 Heroes Downfall, 3 Dreadbore, 3 Anger of the Gods, 3 Chain to the Rocks. Then he's got some other cards. He's also got 2 Mizium Warriors. Chandra Power Master, not going to be a removal spell very often in his deck. You know, he's got some other cards here in Rakdos Kirun. 2 of those. 3 Read the Bones to be able to draw some cards. A Whip of Erebos, just a singleton of that. And his creatures, again, he can finish the game off with are 4 Desecration Demon, 4 Boros Reckoner, and 3 Obsidian Ghost Council. So it feels like his plan to me, Adrian, is just kill a bunch of stuff and then win with one of those threats.
Absolutely. Now, you would think that it might be very hard for a Boros Reckoner to get cast. Every single land in his deck can cast a Boros Reckoner, which is a pretty impressive accomplishment in a 3-color deck.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that with the Aristocrats that Tom Martell played at Pro Tour Gatecrash. He ended up winning that tournament. I think every land in his deck could cast Boros Reckoner, so it didn't end up being much of a problem. The problem right now for Novak is that there's a 5/5 Ghost Council in play.
Obsidat drains 2 away from Daniel Novak, and the first of many creatures are eaten by that Scavenging Ooze. There are 2 other creatures, one other creature at least, the Elvish Mystic, that it could be eaten. I think the other creature is chained currently.
Yeah, the Hydra is currently chained to the rocks. Gonna activate Mutavault and get into the red zone here, threatening an Nylea activation to give +2/+2. Again, don't forget that all the creatures out there do have trample, and you don't know the composition of the mono green deck, so Novak could very easily just have a pump spell here.
A Giant Growth would be pretty rough.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it'd be a 2-for-1, but still.
I mean, you're happy with that trade, I think.
I want to get that Obsid off the table. You know? I think right now Daniel is trying to decide if he. Well, I guess the block wasn't completed.
Yeah,
there we go.
I think happy. I think probably happy to make this trade with the Nylea activation to make the Uza 5/5. He's gonna go eat.
Eat. There was a Tusker in there yet. So that makes it a 5/5 trades with the Obsidat and 2 damage to Jeff Rasmussen. I think what Jeff decided there was he was not willing to go down to 1.
Yeah, there's a trade-off there, though, with the Scavenging Ooze activations, because by activating Scavenging Ooze, it was a 3/3 Nylea activation would make it a 5/5 trade with the Ozadat. By removing the 2 creatures, that means your future Scavenging Oozes won't have as much fodder to get bigger. So there's definitely a trade-off there of choosing to not activate Nylea and instead choosing to activate Scavenging Ooze.
Particularly since Daniel Novak didn't use that mana afterwards. He had 2 mana left, and he didn't use it. So we'll see if that ends up coming into play. Rakdos Keyrune, that is one of my favorite cards in this deck. Rakdos Keyrune has done so much good work for me over the last, I guess, year. It's one of my favorite cards in any black-red based deck.
Another Mutavault there from Novak. He's going to activate an attack here. So this can become a 4/4 with Nylea activation. Of course, Keyrune being a 3/1 with first strike. He could, and one thing that Rasmussen could have here is, block and then a shock, but it doesn't look like he does have it, so just +2/+2 is going to happen, and it's going to take down Keyrune. Yeah, and trample, so it's going to put him down to 1.
If he assigned the trample.
Yeah.
Trample, okay, he did.
Yeah.
Okay.
I forgot about the trample. That part's really, really important, actually. It makes the Keyrune much worse than I thought it was going to be initially.
Boros Reckoner.
That'll be a good one.
Keyrune, not as good. Obsidat. Desecration Demon. Unfortunately, there's a Mutavault there hanging out. Jeff Rasmussen is a dead man walking.
Yeah, as long as Novak doesn't miss it. I mean, he can just double activate. He doesn't even have to sacrifice if he doesn't want to. So Desecration Demon was going to be no good there. So mono green from Daniel Novak's going to win game number 1 over Jeff Rasmussen playing black, red, white control. I want to do sideboards quickly, and then I want to go over this mono green.
Yeah,
so
I'm with you.
I'm going to start here with black, red, white control for Rasmussen. 3 shock, 2 wear and tear, 3 Thoughtseize, 2 Underworld Connections, a Hammer of Proforos, another Whip of Erebos, 2 Slaughter Games, and an Erebos God of the Dead. This is not going to surprise you, what I'm going to say next. None of these cards stand out as cards that, hey, I'm trying to be mono green with. Shockaroo. The card Shock is okay. I mean, when we go over the mono green deck, we'll see exactly what kind of targets there are there outside of Elvish Mystic. But, Shock is fine. Wear Tear, not so much. Thoughtseize, I guess, it's kind of this all-purpose card, so I suppose that can come in. Underworld Connections is fine if you want to play a long game. I don't think you really have interest in doing that in this particular matchup where you can get hit, pretty hard. Hammer, not for this matchup. Whip, really, really slow, more for your mid-range or control decks. Slaughter Games for Revelation. Erebos, just no. Just no on Erebos in this matchup. So you've got a sideboard here where Rasmussen's going to go through there. He's going to look at things, and outside of Thoughtseize, I think he's going to find that he does not have very many good options for this mono green strategy that Novak is employing. I'll let you take a look at this sideboard, and we'll go over this main deck some more too.
Okay, so the sideboard we have for Daniel Novak, 1 Pithing Needle, 4 Nylea's Disciple, 3 Garruk Caller of Beasts, 3 Hunt the Hunter, 2 Mistcutter Hydra, and 2 Fade into Antiquity. I almost feel like what he decided to do was crack open a Theros box and say to himself, how many of these cards can I play?
Yeah. How many can I get in my deck?
A few. Now, Nylea's Disciple, one of the things about this, green, 2 for a 3/3. Oh, it's a Hill Giant, not so great. The major point of this is the life gain against those aggressive matchups. That's not going to come in here. The Pithing Needle is not unreasonable. He saw some Rakdos Keyrunes. If I were him, I'd expect to see some Planeswalkers in the form of Chandra. Garruk Caller of Beasts is in here. So that's the 6 mana Garruk. If you haven't been paying attention to Magic since M14, that one he can call up some friends and see who comes to the party. And this is a deck almost all creatures, so that's a good thing to think about. Then Hunt the Hunter, an anti-green card. So if he's playing against green-red monsters, that'd be a good card, but he's not, so that's not going to come in. Mistcutter Hydra, green X for a hasty pro-blue X-powered creature. And that probably won't come in. And Fade into Antiquity, green 2, exile a sorcery, exile a enchantment or artifact. Now, that's all fine and dandy for a sideboard, most of which I think is not particularly necessary here for this matchup. I could see Garruk being a reasonable thing, even though it costs a lot of mana. He's expecting, if I'm looking at a black, red, white control, a lot of removal. You could drop Garruk, call up some friends, and then if they kill the Garruk, you probably have made your money. Yeah. But I probably might stop at that, maybe the 1 Pithing Needle. But let's talk about this main deck. The main deck is awesome. It's a 24 land deck with 3 Mutavaults, and then basically what you're talking about is green aggro. This is a stompy deck for the most part. Boon Satyr is the only real combat trick, and a lot of big dudes. Polokranos, Tusker, Hydra, Scavenging Ooze. This deck can get aggressive very quickly. Burning Tree Emissary making it copy the opening hands of red decks.
Yep. And this could be the mid-range deck that people are looking for, because yes, it can get aggressive here, as Rasmussen's going to play a Rakdos Keyrune after a couple of dual lands. It can get aggressive, but it does have some staying power again, because it does have some very, very big creatures. Mid-range decks can play both sides of the ball. They can be aggressive, or they can be a little bit more controlling. So you're going to see a Reverent Hunter.
This is one of the reasons to play this deck. Reverent Hunter, green 2, with a devotion giving +1/+1 for every bit of green devotion you've got. Right here, this card very easily can create huge creatures for only 3 mana. All it takes is a Tusker or, like, you know, any other random card, and you've got a 4/4 for 3.
Yeah, and Burning Tree Emissary is going to allow that to happen pretty easily, as Novak gets Anger of the Gods, takes care of the creatures that he did have in play. Rasmussen's going to tap 5 mana. It feels like an Obsidian, and it is. So now he is in the driver's seat with the creature, while Novak did not hit a 4th land drop. He just has to pass the turn, and away goes the Ghost Council.
That's 4th land drop is a big deal for Novak. He's got Colonian Hydra, Deadbridge Goliath, Polokranos. He's got a lot of stuff on the top end. There's a Boon Satyr, and it's joined by, I believe, a Tusker there. That puts him with 7 power on the table out of nowhere. The 4 mana, the 4 power Satyr hopping into play, providing a kind of fake haste.
Card is simply incredible.
That card is amazing. If you've ever bestowed it on something, oh my god, Mizium Mortars. What a kick.
Yeah, that's going to clean everything up with Overload. In comes the Obsidian. We're probably going to see this get blinked out yet again. No, he's going to keep it in play. A little surprising there.
All Novak needs here is, I think, a 4th mana to have a ton of access to huge creatures. And I don't think he has it. That's a pass, but maybe he's got a Satyr.
So it looks like both players agree that Obsidian will come back into play. A little drain, a little gain there for Rasmussen versus Novak. Rasmussen going to draw a card here.
Now, Jeff Rasmussen's deck is, I think, in a well-suited matchup for it, even though it did get its teeth kicked in last game. Attack for 8. This is, oh, Satyr.
Yeah, oddly enough, Boon Satyr not very good on this board position at all. Shock going to take care of it. Obsidian and the Keyrune going to put Novak down to 1. Blink out, and after a draw step here,
there's nothing that Daniel Novak could play besides a Nylea's Disciple to stay alive.
Yeah.
And that's all she wrote, real quicksies. The real card to me that makes this deck that Daniel Novak is playing really exciting is Reverent Hunter. Now, green 2 for a 1/1 with a +1/+1 counter for every bit of devotion that you have means you're guaranteed at least a 2/2 for 3, which is certainly not great. But as you said before with Burning Tree Emissary, it's very easy for you to have a game like this. Turn 1 1-drop, whether it's Elvish Mystic or Experiment 1. Turn 2 2-drop, or heaven forbid 2 2-drops. And then a turn 3 Reverent Hunter, which is going to be huge.
Demands an answer right away, as you can get a lot of damage. And again, a simple draw, too, that can happen is just turn 1 Elvish Mystic, turn 2, play your land, cast Burning Tree Emissary, you get your green-red mana, cast a Reverent Hunter, you're looking at a devotion of 4, 2 from the Emissary, 1 from the Mystic, 1 from the Hunter itself.
On turn 2?
Yeah, on turn 2. So turn 2, you can have a 5/5, and it's not really all that difficult to do.
I mean, one of the things that I think about is some of the huge creatures that you've had in the past for 3 mana, and this is amongst them. It doesn't take that much effort to get there. If you are just joining us, I am Adrian Sullivan here in the booth with hometown hero Cedric Phillips. He is not slinging today. He is giving you the best coverage that we can bring in Magic the Gathering all day. The StarCityGames.com Open Series here live in Cleveland. This is SCG Live. On the left, Jeff Rasmussen, Black, Red, White Control, currently undefeated versus Daniel Novak on the right with Mono Green Beatdown. Very stompy-ish if you like terms like that.
I kind of like terms like that. Now, you know, if people want to talk about this mono green deck, you can certainly hit us up on Twitter at SCG Live, hashtag SCGCLE. tell us what you think about the mono green deck, as well as Rasmussen's black red white control deck with the Jerry Thompson school of thought there a little bit as well, as we do move on through this standard open. Again, round 3 of 9, 406 players in attendance here at the Cleveland Convention Center. My first time here, even though it is my hometown. I think this was built while I was away at college in Seattle. I think this is a rather new building. A nice one.
It is a nice building. Yeah. Now, we do pay attention to Twitter. Both Cedric and I are attached at the hip to our Twitter machines. So, for example, Original Estrus, you are right. Jeff Rasmussen is playing Daga Control. And I feel like I can never remember those things. Chapin likes to say Daga and Raka and Anna all the time, but if I'm going to choose, I'd be an Anna mage.
So Rakdos Gilgate to start for Rasmussen, a Forest here for Novak.
Is that a pass? Oh.
Yeah, this is a Colonial Tusker.
Turn 2 Tusker.
Novak being on the play this game. You see Rasmussen just drew a Mortar. Is going to go down to 18. Might see him fire off removal spell to take care of the 3/3.
I don't mind killing that right away.
No.
I mean, one thing, these players don't have each other's deck lists. If I'm Jeff, I'm going to play around Giant Growth the whole time.
Just a land and pass there from Novak, so nothing to do. I wonder if Rasmussen has maybe a Reckoner?
Come on, Boon Satyr. Do we see some Boon?
Ask and you shall receive.
Look at that little smile from Daniel. You know Daniel personally.
Yep.
He looks like he's a fun guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy. And Shock is going to take down another good guy in Boon Satyr. I like the fact that Rakdos Kirun lets you be efficient like that.
Kirun is still, I think, one of the best cards in Standard. It just doesn't have a home, I don't think, yet. Maybe Jeff has found the home. And we see a Burning Tree Emissary into an Elvish Mystic with a red mana. Not going to do anything with it. Just going to hang out. Now, one thing that Jeff Rasmussen is not going to do here, he's not going to Day of Judgment. That doesn't exist anymore. Double Rakdos Kirun. One of them can come to the defense of anybody he wants here. Daniel Novak currently has got to be looking for something big. He's got a call in his hand. Garrick, the Caller of Beasts. Now, will he get on the phone and get some friends in?
I think he could use the help.
You know, I feel like Garrick is that guy that's like, hey, let's have a party, everybody. You know, like, what, no one's here?
Read the Bones, gonna take a look at a Goblet Shrine and a Chain to the Rocks. So Chain to the Rocks gonna go to the grip along with a mystery card. Looks like an Obsidian, I think.
Something with white in it.
He's also got the Whip of Erebos in his hand. Yeah, Obsidian was the draw.
Do you chain the Mystic for fear of a 6-trap?
I would be surprised if we saw that happen. Yeah, I would have been honestly surprised.
Oh, bestow. Now, one of the important things to realize about this, let's pretend that Jeff Rasmussen killed that Burning Tree Emissary in response. By the weirdness that is Wizards of the Coast, the Boon Satyr would not go away like you might think it would. No, it would stick around. I don't know why, but that's how they worded it.
Well, one thing we do have here is an Ilea. And you take a look at the green permanents on the battlefield, 2, 4, 5, that's 6. Devotion is met. Boon Satyr certainly did help that. And now Novak's going to come across for 6. That's a 6/4.
And it's trample because of the Nylea. Now, Nylea, being embodied as it is, can be chained to the rocks.
That's true. That is true. So it looks like Rasmussen certainly has a decision maker now. I think his hand, I believe his hand currently, we know he has Chain to the Rocks, we know he has Obsidian Ghost Council, we know he has Whip of Erebos. The question is, does he have an instant speed removal spell like a Hero's Downfall right now? You see him reorganizing his mana. Does he want to block with just Rakdos Kirun, which would not accomplish very much? It would allow Novak to be able to trample over for 5 points of damage because Kirun has 1 toughness. He's not going to be able to pick a fight with that Emissary. That's a 6/4. So now Rasmussen just has to draw a card. Chain to the Rocks takes care of the god.
You see that?
Yeah.
He puts it down with Flourish.
Yep. Just get that thing out of here. Thank you very much.
No.
Rasmussen drew a Boros Reckoner for the turn.
Reckoner.
All right.
Hardly knew her. And we see 3 mana up. That means that the Rakdos Kiruns are potential blockers. Just
Novak.
because there's a chain there doesn't mean it can't be used for mana.
Novak is dying to draw a land, and he still has not found one. He has, again, 2 Garrett Caller of the Beast in his hand, and he can't get them into play.
You don't even really want to attack with your Boon Satyr.
No, you really don't want to.
I mean, oh boy.
Hero's Downfall. Good draw.
Downfall. And the Boon Satyr slips off of the shoulders of a Burning Tree Emissary.
The thing for Rasmussen is, does he know what Novak has in his hand? Again, we know that there are 2 Garrus over there. I think the other card's a Burning Tree Emissary, but Novak doesn't know that. Now, Novak has a lot of good options in his hand. Again, he has Obsidian, he just drew a Desecration Demon, and he still has that Whip of Erebos that he might want to get established, but I don't think he knows exactly what Novak has over there, which is a 6-mana spell that he cannot cast.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Jeff just thought there were more Boon Satyrs and Giant Growths in Daniel's hand. I mean, that would be what I would be thinking about right now. I'd be like, oh, he's got tricks. He's got tricks.
Yep. He can't get the tricks out of his hand. You know, I have Boon Satyrs to play around, and that's pretty much it.
Another Boros Reckoner?
Oh,
the whip. The whip. That card is awesome. Oh, do we see it?
Elvish Mystic.
Damn it. I don't have a horse in this race.
Yeah. I can tell. Just completely unbiased. It's good.
Now, what would be a true nightmare for Daniel Novak is if a Mizium Mortars happened to be exploded all over his side of the table. In comes the Boros Reckoner. Remember, the whip gives lifelink.
So now that's going to go down to 17. Rasmussen's going to go up to 13. So now he's going to start padding his life total. And if he does cast an Obsidian, that's going to help accomplish that as well. You also see, again, that Desecration Demon that's over there in the grip. Luckily for Novak, there are no creatures in the graveyard here for Rasmussen for him to be able to start buying back with the whip. But the fact that it just provides lifelink, it may just be good enough.
Whip is so insane. I know that I have tried out 2 whips in a lot of decks, and my feeling to this is it's usually wrong to run 2 whips in a deck, but running 1 whip in a deck, if you can support it, wow, does it make cards like Desecration Demon so much better than they already are, and that card is already good. Obsidian comes on in, 2 more life. It's
Whip is just a card that's really, really good, obviously, but I agree with you. It's not a card that you want to draw multiples of, obviously, because they have diminishing returns. Now, here's a Nixthos, Shrine to Nyx.
Ooh, wow. Burning Tree Emissary into that. That makes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Garrick, he's still got 4 mana open when he rings the bell. What you got? Who's coming to the party?
4 and 5. There's a Pelucranos, and there is a... Okay, so we're going to start going off here a little bit. For Novak.
Was he like sandbagging that Nixthos?
No, he drew that for the turn.
Okay.
He had 2 Garrets in his hand.
Okay.
So you see the cards that are going to go to the grip: the Pelucranos and the Reverent Hunter. Devotion check, 2 from Garrick, 2 from Boon Satyr, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 green.
God.
So that that's looking pretty
1,
good. Now
2,
here's
3,
a Reverend Hunter.
Reverend Hunter.
4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So
I don't think he counted his first Mystic.
Yep. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. So this thing is a 10/10.
Only 3 mana.
Yeah, 3 mana 10/10. It just needs a little trample now. That's all. Which, conveniently enough, Nylea is a creature, even though it's an enchantment too, so Garrick can be hit off of that. Question is, does Rasmussen have a removal spell now? Because again, we know he has Desecration Demon and a mystery card in his hand. He's reorganizing his mana. We don't know what he's going to do this turn if he just does want to cast the 6/6 flyer. But I think Novak is more than happy if Desecration Demon does come to the table now because he can control it. And now there is a removal spell, a Dreadbore off the top. Pretty timely from Rasmussen. Pretty timely. See if he's going to get into the red zone here at all. Looks like we're going to go towards a Rakdos Keyrune activation. There are really no good blocks here for Novak. I don't know exactly how Rasmussen wants to attack here, but again, can't forget that all the creatures that Rasmussen has do have lifelink, so he can make some more aggressive attacks because he's going to get the life back. Also important note is we'll figure out which way he's attacking, if he's going towards Garrick or if he's going towards Novak's life total.
I mean, Garrick is a frightening card. Like, Garrick, if you let it stick around, will just make the party get way out of hand.
Yeah.
We have lots of tap, untap, tap, untap. I feel like this is that PTQ that you played in Indy, where your opponent did that to you.
Yeah. It looks like... okay, so I think it was considering Obsidian coming, maybe going out away right now. Here's a Garrick activation, Double Forest, Dreadbridge Goliath, Kalani Hydra, and Nylea. So
oh my
that's
god.
3 of them.
He gets all of that too. Yeah. Nixthos just looks sick right now.
And Nixthos can get out of control. He's only got 1 in his deck list, but when this thing is online, things get hairy quickly, and I think I think we might want to add some more of those to this deck, maybe, because I think that obviously it's a legendary land, so there are some diminishing returns with that. But when it's online and going, this deck goes from fair to like on steroids.
I mean, Nykthos plus Garruk is just bonkers.
Yeah.
Like,
here's the thing now. I think Novak now has drawn into the necessary resources to get himself back into this game. Again, Whip of Erebos isn't doing very much right now. It's just providing lifelink. The activated ability on it does not really matter. So what matters is in front of him. He knows that Rasmussen has one card left in his hand, so ideally he can try to play around a removal spell, but he knows what he needs to beat right now because it's on the table. So now it's time to craft a game plan and execute it. Because I think he has the tools to actually execute a game plan to get him to win this game.
I think you're right. I think he has gotten to that point where for Jeff to be able to come back into this, not only is he going to have to get rid of that Garruk, which he has 6 ways to do, certainly, but then he'll have to get rid of another Garruk.
Yeah.
And still maintain his life total against a board which is just, frankly, sick.
All right, so he's going to start off with the Hydra. That'll provide more devotion, too.
He casts the Hydra before the activating the Nykthos just to get the extra devotion off of it. Doesn't count. Deadbridge, Goliath, Paul. Jesus.
So the Nykthos activation will be 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it looks like he's got 2 mana floating after he does play Deadbridge, Goliath, and Pelucranos. And he's just going to pass the turn back after playing, 2 5/5s and a 4/4. You're up. That's all for me.
This is really, really rapidly getting out of control. Jeff Rasmussen here, looking for some kind of answer. I think it might have turned the corner where it's too late now.
Yeah, the big thing here now is that Garruk is still looming, and the other huge thing is Pelucranos, which, when this card was revealed, Monstrosity, how does it work? Is it good? Is it not good? That sort of thing. Now, because Novak has so much mana because of the Nykthos, the Monstrosity on Pelucranos is actually very, very real. And again, when it becomes monstrous, it deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures your opponents control. So you can divide this up however you want to go. And again, Monstrosity, you can activate at instant speed.
Now we see Jeff all in. He's like, I've got to end this now and hope something goes my way. The lifelink is great, but the real issue is that this is getting out of control really quickly. As long as Daniel doesn't make any stupid blocks where the Boros Reckoner domes him for a lot,
yeah,
he should be just fine.
That's the big one too. Is that I think you have to block the key rune no matter what, but you have to make sure that the Reckoner doesn't just dome you. Like, you don't want to block anything, but you also want to make sure that you don't get yourself into a situation where a burn spell can kill you, because again, that Rasmussen has shock in this deck, so you can play around that. And I think Rasmussen just drew shock for the turn, so there is some blocking that can be done here so that you don't die from something you don't need to die to. There can be some chump blocks here, but again, I'm with you. You want to be a little bit careful with the Reckoner, make sure it doesn't deal too much damage when it doesn't need to be able to do that. So here are your blocks. You got Pelucranos on the Rakdos key rune, you've got Burning Emissary on the Reckoner. So basically what Novak's saying here is that Reckoner gets to deal 2 damage instead of 3.
Yep.
But it gets to figure out where it wants to deal those 2 points of damage. And then you've got Deadbridge Goliath happily willing to trade with Obsidian.
Now Jeff is trying to decide if he wants to use the Reckoner's redirection to potentially finish off that Pelucranos, or alternately, he could finish off that Colonian Hydra, because remember, that Hydra, it can get a Deadbridge Goliath set of tokens on it before the attack, and there's a certain green god that's in the mix in all of this. So
yeah, you make a very good point. I actually forgot about the interaction between Deadbridge Goliath scavenge onto a Colonial Hydra, and then doubling the counters on that. Goliath would make it so that there would be 9 counters, and 9 times 2. Quick math, because I did graduate high school. That'd be 18. That's what we're coming in for. 18 trample, mind you.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I am on board with Daniel's deck. This is some exciting stuff.
I am a fan so far. I know when he told me before we started the tournament I was playing mono green, I was just like, are you just looking to have fun today? He's like, no, I actually think it's kind of good. It doesn't look so bad right now.
Oh boy. One of the things I really like about Garruk, he does not run the Garruk's main deck. He is basically playing kind of the swarm style that Stompy is classically known for. Just creatures, and then his only pump spell in the main is effectively that Boon Satyr. But then against another deck that's more controlling, a part of the plan is Guess what? 6 mana, Garrick. Let's bring a party.
Mm-hmm.
Call them up. Call up my friends.
Rasmussen has slowed down dramatically here, trying to figure out exactly what to do, because I think he does have that shock in his hand, and he does.
Boom.
So now first strike damage is going to resolve, and then the shock damage will happen as well. So Pelucranos actually won't trade with Rakdos Keyrune. Rakdos Keyrune wins that fight. Boros Rekner's trigger goes over to Boon Satyr, so there's going to be a lot of things get picked up here, but the most important thing that's still on the battlefield, you see it.
Colonian Hydra.
It's the Hydra.
Oh, boy. And remember, there is lifelink, so in theory, there is a lot of life that Jeff just gained. I believe that would be 5, 3, 3, 2. He would have just gained 13 life.
Yep, so he's going to go up to 32 from confirmation from our spotter, exactly where the life total's at, while Novak is sitting at 9.
Sounds like a lot of life, but...
Yeah, Hydra can chase you down pretty fast. The other thing to keep track of right now too is that now Whip of Erebos is on. Now it actually has something to bring back, which is Obsidian Ghost Council, which is pretty favorable for how that works. Is here's another activation of the Garrick. You see another Garrick turned over, 2 4s, a Burning Tree Emissary, and a Reverent Hunter. So 2 for 5 isn't so bad.
And that's the third of Daniel's Garricks. The other one is in his hand.
Yeah, he's got the backup one in grip. You see them counting the lifelink to make sure exactly how much was gained there. Again, you had 3 from the Keyrune, 3 from the Reckoner, so that'd be 6. 2 from the Reckoner redirection, so that would be 8. And then 5 from Ozef, so that would be 13 total, as you did mention. You see Novak ready to put these cards on down to the bottom. Up to 34 is Rasmussen's life total. So we do have life totals kosher here. Novak's, that hasn't changed for him. Sitting at a, I guess we'd say unhealthy 9.
That's fair. And Burning Tree Emissary, green, red in hand, or in pool. He's trying to make his Nykthos be as absurd as possible.
Yeah, he's getting there, that's for sure.
One of the things about those mystics are starting to represent a way to moderate how much life you are going to lose, because he does not want the Boros Reckoner to end this game.
Yeah.
I mean, a big creature is great and all, but Boros Reckoner has something to say about it. You can't block that Reckoner with that Hydra and expect to be okay about it.
It might almost be defense time for the Reckoner. Not sure. We'll see how he wants to play this turn. So there's Reverend Hunter. You check the devotion. You've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's gonna be a 10-10 again.
Jesus.
It looks like.
Now remember, Colonian Hydra doubles all of the tokens that you have on your creatures.
Ah, yeah, I guess it does do that. So here's an activation for 10. I think you might be able to kill. Yeah, so there's a Scavenge. So 10 minus Scavenge on Dead Bridge Goliath is 6, I believe.
I think that's correct, yes.
So yeah, Scavenge on Goliath is 6. There's that. I don't think he's gonna have enough mana to actually activate that ability, but in comes this for the Hydra, trigger.
Can't attack with the Burning Tree Emissary,
Nope.
it's sick.
So
Basic
just this.
trigger.
So yeah, take a look at
What
this.
does that do?
And I guess we'll bring the Hydra up on the screen too, because you know, Jeff's taking a look at it. We'll take a look at it too. Double all the counters here. Again, it's double all the creatures on each creature you control. You don't get to double the counters on Planeswalkers. Thank goodness. But here's what's looming. Besides a Hydra that is going to double its counters to become an 18-18 and chase down Rasmussen's life total, now that the Reverent Hunter has doubled its counters, with Nylea being able to give it trample, or it already has trample because of Nylea, that's like the biggest thing ever that'll be attacking. Assume that we get to the next turn and Novak doesn't die.
Now remember, the whip does mean that Novak is effectively at 7 life. And let's see what you got.
Oh, look at tough guy Reverend Hunter being pushed up here. Yeah, I'm ready to block. Yeah, I can do anything. And it's really convenient here for Novak that he does have the trample effect from Nylea, because imagine if there was no Nylea in play, that Reverend Hunter wouldn't actually be able to attack very well, because obviously Boros Reckoner says, yeah, go ahead. Come on in, buddy. I'm ready for you. Hit me right in the face. I don't care.
That's awesome. I love seeing decks like this, which come out of the woodworks and show us all what is possible. If you're just joining us, you've missed out, because this has been an awesome match between Daniel Novak with mono green and Jeff Rasmussen with red, black,
some
white.
haymaker magic right here. Back and forth we go. I think the green deck has the better of the haymakers, at least right now. Those dice, those are there on purpose, because there's a lot of counters going on right now. And I know that we'll discuss after the match the idea behind playing a monocolor deck versus playing a 2-color deck versus playing a 3-color deck, because there's certainly some things to be discussed here. Now, here's the interaction a lot of people have been talking about.
I love this interaction.
Whip of Erebos with Obsidian Ghost Council. Does this work favorably for the Obsidian? It does.
Absolutely.
There are some rules and some text and all of those things, but the short version of it is yes, this works favorably so that the Whip brings back the Ghost Council, and then it can go bye-bye, which is exactly what the Ghost Council is going to do and does not get removed from the Whip. But Rasmussen, Rasmussen has no attacks, so he's going to pass the turn back, and Novak drawing Experiment 1, I think that's one of the poorer draws that he had available to his deck. But I think Garrick, your good friend, might be able to call a little something up to help.
Yeah, one of the awesome things, if you bring up Garrick, the caller of beasts, once your party's gotten big enough, Garrick's like, now we're going to bring in the superstars. Yep. Every time somebody shows up, he's going to bring a friend, and that friend is going to be awesome.
Those 2 friends actually brought by this Garrick are Scavenging Ooze and an Elvish Mystic, so another 2 for 5 out of Garrick. Again, there's probably not a lot of creatures in the graveyard. Novak probably wishes that he had that Scavenging Ooze just 1 turn a little bit earlier, so he could have caught that Obsidian off of the Whip. But that being said, he's going to add more devotion to his board with that Scavenging Ooze and an Elvish Mystic, which means another large Nykthos activation. And I think a lot of that Nykthos mana, Adrian, is going to go into Nylea activations.
I'm with you. Now, one of the...
Jeff
passes it up.
I would say so. So Daniel Novak is going to defeat Jeff Rasmussen 2-1, and I think easily our best match so far today.
That was amazing.
Mono green apparently defeating black, red, white control. We might have a brand new little deck here in our hands. The power level certainly can't be argued. We saw him do some insane things there. You can only imagine how things would have went if he would have hit that 6th land earlier for Garrick. But once again,